Hey friends, Patrick here, and today let's build some cascading dropdowns with Blazor server, to be more exact. So what you can already see here is a Blazor server project. This means I used the new Blazor web app template in .NET 8, and as you can see here, we already got add interactive server components and add interactive server render mode. So yeah, Blazor server it is. It works in essence the same way with Blazor WebAssembly or the auto render mode, which I think you know by now is simply both, right? With auto, you first get Blazor server, and then on the second visit of the user, you get Blazor WebAssembly because all the WebAssembly files have been downloaded in the background and are available. But the most important part is that for this to work, you need interactivity. So we are utilizing an interactive render mode here, not Blazor SSR, static server-side rendering. This would be different. And what's the setup? Well, of course, it's video game related because I just love video games. So I have an iVideo game service. And in the dropdowns, I want to, or on the page, I want to somehow build or display a very simple video game library manager maybe. So here what we will have are methods to get platforms like PC, PS5, Xbox, then the genres of a platform, and also the video games then by platform and the genre. When we have a look at the models, it's not 100% correct, of course, because here we've got the platform ID and name. This is great so far, but now regarding the genre, a genre only has a platform ID. It doesn't really make sense because, of course, on every platform you have every genre or type of video game. But for this example, I think this works. And then at the end, or in the end, then the video game, of course, with an ID, a title, platform, and the genre ID. And when we have a look here at the implementation of the service, it's all mock data, right? No database here implemented, but I think at the end, you know how this would work with a database. Honestly, because as you can see here, we have a list of platforms, genres, and then the video games. And then here, regarding the actual methods, these are async methods. And instead of just returning the result here from the mock data, you would, for instance, make, regarding WebAssembly, you would make a web API call to a controller or a minimal API. And regarding a Blazor server here, you could of course, inject your data context if you want, or first a repository or another service, whatever you like, and then return the actual data there. But here now we get the platforms, and then when the user selected a platform, then we want to call the get genres by platform ID async with the selected platform ID. And then finally, so we have 3 dropdowns in the end, get video games by platform and genre async. So yeah, this is everything we want to do, and I want to do that here on the home page. I removed everything, but this was a bit too much because we, of course, need our page directive here. Not this, really not this. I just wanted to, yeah, this is what I was looking for. And let's maybe start with the code block first, because this is, Jesus, what's going on today? This is what we need first here. All right, to make the markup work. Come on, Visual Studio. I already see there's another update already. Again, I just updated, I think, yesterday or the day before yesterday. And now we've got version 17.9.6 available. Anyways, so what we need is we have the lists of platform, genre, and video games. So here now, let me just create this list of the platform, right? And we get the models here. Of course, we could move that to the imports razor, but this is not important for this tutorial here. And we call this platforms, and this is simply first a new list of platforms, and pretty much the same thing also for, again, the genre, and also here the genre, and then of course also a video game, and here these are our video games, and it's actually here genres like that. All right, now I told you already we have 3 dropdowns, so we could select 3 IDs: the platform ID, the genre ID, and the video game ID. So let's also add these IDs here. below our list. So we have private ints, and the first one is the selected platform ID, and by default this is null, so, or 0, not null, sorry, it's 0, so we can actually also leave it like that. And then we have the selected genre ID and the selected video game ID. All right, now when we load this component, you know, the lifecycle methods, right, on initialized, on parameter set, on after render, on initialization this time, we want to load the platforms because this is our first drop down. So I think it would make sense to fill the platforms at least. We don't need the genres in video games for now, but the first thing should be the platforms. So let's do that with overrides, protected, and there it is on initialized async. And then here we say our platforms are actually the result of await and now the video game service, but we don't have the video game service so far, so maybe we can inject it real quick. So up here we now say add inject video game, nope, first the interface, of course, video game service, video game service. And by the way, this has to be registered, of course. So as you can see here, this time a singleton video game service, video game service. And again, we need another reference here. So now we can use our video game service and get all the platforms. Great. All right. Now, when we build our drop downs, I know I'm still not building them. We are still in the code block. But when a platform or a genre is selected, has been selected by the user, then we want to get the corresponding data, right? So we need the genre list and the video game list. So let's react to the special events, maybe on platform selected, on genre selected. And for that we need methods. So let's write these methods here first, shall we? So the first one would be a private async task, and then on platform selected, that's the one. And then what do we want? Well, first, of course, the genres, but it doesn't stop here. This is await video game service. That's the one actually. Get genres by platform ID, and this is now our selected platform ID. All right. Then video games. Maybe we already have video games, so let's clear the list of video games here. Then the next one would be resetting the genre ID that was selected, probably. So selected genre ID is 0 in this case. And the last one also the selected video game ID. Because if we don't reset the IDs, then it can get ugly. You get new genres, but the selected genre and the selected video game is still the same when the user was playing around or just searching for a special game, for instance. And then when we submit and want to do something, whatever it is, with the database, even store that, then the data, well, it might not be really correct, and then you get into trouble. All right, next one, private async task. And here this would be on genre selected, of course, like that. And here now we get the corresponding video games, and here we say await video game service get video games by, let's move that to another line here, and this would then be the platform ID and the selected genre ID. That's the ones. These are the ones. And here now we don't have to reset that much. In essence, it's only the selected video game ID, which is now again 0. All right, of course, because after the video games, nothing else is there to select from. So this should work, right? Okay. Last thing I want to do is add a submit button. So maybe we can already implement that as well. So here now, another method where I just want to see the selected IDs. We could do this with the console. So console write line would work, but then you have to pay attention. It's not in the browser because we're not using Blazor WebAssembly. Everything is working on the server in this case. So you would have to check the terminal to see the result. Maybe at least I sometimes forget that. So I'm opening the console, I don't see the logging in essence, and I'm wondering what's going on here, but then I remember, hey, we are using Blazor server or Blazor server or static server-side rendering, SSR, and in this case, check out the terminal, not the console of Chrome, for instance, or the other browser of your choice. All right, async task, and then let's call this show me the game. And here, I know, now I get the thumbs downs. Yeah, thumbs downs. Dislikes, because I'm using the JS interop to display an alert. All right, so let's do that real quick. Inject IJS. Runtime it is. Let's call this JS. Yeah, this should work. And here now we call await.js invoke void async. In fact, we are going to call the alert method. So much to learn actually in this tutorial if you are not familiar with that. And here, well, let's display the IDs. That's just the IDs. Platform is then selected. Selected platform ID. Then we've got, of course, the genre ID. This is then the selected genre ID, and the last thing, video game. Let me just call this genre maybe like that, and then the video game should be the selected video game ID. All right, so we've got our methods. This is actually the complete code block, and we also covered the top here. Of course, the last thing we need is the render mode. So add render mode, and this shall be not Blazor, this shall be interactive server. This is the one. Okay, and now the markup. And surprise, surprise, we're not using an edit form here. We could use an edit form, but this is maybe something for another tutorial, because I want to use the default select HTML element. So first, let's open a div, and then similar to the well, edit form examples with the built-in components, we use a label here for the platforms, and here we say choose a platform, for instance. And now down here or below the label, we add our selects with the ID platforms, and then we will add something there in a sec. Here the first option now would be with the value 0 is something like select the platform. All right, so this is the very first entry, and then in a for each, so at for each, hit tab twice, we can start our for each with a platform or every single platform of our platforms list, and then add another option where the value, Jesus, what's going on today? The value is the platform ID. All right, and we display the platform name. All right, and now here regarding the select, so we could, for instance, bind a certain value. In this case, this would be the selected platform ID. So here now we write bind, and not something like bind value. This is for the built-in component, like the input selects. Maybe you've seen that already. Input selects, right? And then you have the directive bind value. But the problem with that is that we got two-way binding in this case with the input select, the built-in component that comes with Blazor, but we cannot do anything else when the user selected the platform in this case. So we would save or really write the new value to the selected platform ID, but again, we cannot do something else then. And what I want to do is I want to bind the value, but afterwards, when this thing is stored into the variable, I want to call on platform selected. So how would I do that? Well, we've got two options here. The first one is bind and then say selected platform ID. So far, so good. And then since this is the typical HTML element, the on select, the select, we can then choose an event like on change and call a method here. But in that case, then we would have to add another argument here, like the change event arguments, change event args, I think something like that, right? Exactly. And then we have to parse the value into an integer and so on. So this is, of course, a valid way, but we would have then to manually also select or set the selected platform ID here. Since .NET 7, we've got something else. And here what we can do is we can simply say bind and then after. All right, so this means that with our bind directive here, we store the selected platform ID, everything's great, and then we can also call a method, and this would be on platform selected in this case. All right, there it is. Now it's yellow, so we've got this method. Great. So we have our select with the ID platforms. We bind this to the selected platform ID, and then after the binding happened, we say we want to call the on platform selected method. Awesome stuff, really, because now this thing is called and we can do whatever you want here. All right, and in the end we do pretty much the same thing for the genre. So here now we just call this genres, and here as well choose a genre. All right, and of course we use the selected genre ID on genre selected, and then again here pretty much the same thing. Here we've got our genres, call this genre, and same thing here, lots of copy paste stuff actually, and this is then the genre ID, same thing here. All right, and the last one then, you can see it here, right, on genre selected then would be called, and the last one for the video games. So here we call this video games. Here as well, choose a video game. We have actually no event here. So that's that. Selected video game ID. Select a video game. And then here also a video game and video games. And then the video game ID, and again the video game ID. And in the end I want to just display a simple button where it's called show selected game, and here now on click show me the game, like that. And what's going on here? Video game name, oh, it's title actually. All right. Okay, I think so far that's it. So let's just save everything and run this, or restart the application because it was already running. And there we are. So we can, or we see select the platform, genre, and video game. When I hit this button, I see 0, 0, 0. But now I can see I have no video game here, no genre here. And now let's just say for PC, I want to select the video game. Here we see platform ID is now 1. And I get 2 genres here, for instance, action, and for that, cyberpunk. And when I say I want to see an RPG, we've got The Witcher. Perfect. All right. And now for the PlayStation, you see I changed the platform. Now the genres are different and the video games as well. This works. And here now for the Xbox, we have an adventure game, Return to Monkey Island, for instance. Great. One little thing I want to add here is I want to disable the drop-downs when we did not select a platform here. So it doesn't really make sense that the user can click this. So let's fix that. Well, it's not really an error or bug, right? But still, let's add that real quick. For that, we go back to the code block real quick, and here I want to add Boolean variables that tell us if a platform or a genre have been selected. So here, again, private bool, and then, yeah, let's call this has selected platform, and for that we can just say selected if the selected a platform ID is greater than 0, this is then true. Platform ID, that's the one. And for has selected genre, we can say selected genre ID. And now let's add the disabled attribute to the genre and video game select. So here now we say disabled is true if has selected platform, like that. All right, so this means this is true if selected platform is false, right? Then we want to disable this thing. And same thing here for the video game, but this time it's about the genre, like that. So let's try that one more time. There we are. And you can already see this is now disabled. This is great. PC, RPG. Now this is also enabled, Witcher 3. Everything rhymes. This is great. And this is how to build your cascading drop-downs. Maybe one more hint here. You can still use an edit form. Don't get me wrong. You can use an edit form. In that case, you would have to add a model. So you could, for instance, add another model like, well, the selected video game or game selection, maybe something like that, game selection, and then just put the 3 IDs there. And then instead of the selected platform ID for the drop-downs here, right, instead of these 3, we have a model, game selection, for instance, and then we would here bind the game selection and then selected platform ID, and down here game selection, selected genre ID, something like that. And with that, then you could also add validation, for instance. Maybe this is something for another video. If you want to see that, please tell me that in the comments. And if you like this video and learned something, guys, then please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this one here. Thank you also to all my patrons for supporting me and this channel. I love every single one of you. And now again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope I see you next time. Take care.